Welcome in everyone, today is a big day. One Piece live action season 2 came out. If you're living under a rock, you're welcome. I'm sure we all know this by now. And today we're covering episode 1. I do not have 8 hours today to watch all of it and then make like a general review. We're going to go very in-depth to episode 1. I took a ton of notes, and you might be thinking, how in the world did you take this many notes? Well, I was prepared this time, because in season 1 they changed a bunch of stuff that did not happen, like Arlong going to the Baratier instead of Kree. That didn't happen, so I'm prepared today to figure out what they changed. Similarly, we see some off-screen fights, like we saw Mr. 7 in Season 1 fight Zoro. We didn't see that, but it did really happen, so I was prepared. I wanted to see what was really going on under the hood, and it was really good. I think Season 1 found its footing quite quickly, and Season 2 picked up where it left off, at least for Episode 1. So, there are some characters I was looking for. Spoiler alert, we saw Dragon, we saw Sabo, and then we saw a character that was technically in LOGUETOWN, but we did not see him in the anime at all. We only saw him from a flashback, and now we get some details. I'll get into that character here in a little bit. So it starts with a scene that didn't really happen. We see Robin, Miss Valentine, and Mr. 5 entering the Marine base at Shellstown, kind of taking out the Marines. We see Kobe, and then we see this guy. Is this the same guy as from the beginning of Season 1 where Nami kind of like attacked him twice? Man, this guy he just gets the short end of the stick every time. We end up seeing him, a lot of Marines getting potentially killed, and then he's alive, leading Robin, Miss Valentine, and Mr. 5 to where they're wanting to go, which is to see if Mr. 7 is really there and really dead, which of course, they do find him. Now, this did not actually happen. We didn't see it in the manga or the anime, just another thing that the Netflix adaptation added, which I'm fine with. I mean, we get a Robin scene immediately. And then we also see her Devil Fruit, so that was really cool. Then we move on to the Straw Hats, and what are they doing? Well, in particular, East Blue Straw Hat fashion, which I actually love when they do this, they're just sailing the sea, hanging out. We cut to a scene of Usopp and Sanji below the deck. Sanji's trying to look for pepper while he's cooking, and Usopp is just making like pepper ball grenades. And then they go up top to the deck, and they meet with Nami, and they kind of discuss where should they be going. And then a few of them, Nami, Sanji, Zoro, say, hey, we should go to LOGUETOWN. The last stop will have a chance to refuel and everything before we go to the Grand Line. But of course, Usopp's like, hey, that's a horrible idea. That's like the most marine populous town in the entire East Blue. But eventually, once Nami says, hey, Luffy, this is where Roger is executed. We should go there. He gets on board, and they end up going to LOGUETOWN. So once we get to LOGUETOWN, there's a few different things that happen. So we get to LOGUETOWN, then we immediately go back 22 years ago, where we see that conversation Roger has with Garp, which kind of is right before the execution. And the entire thing is, hey, I have a son. I need you to take care of him. Which poor Garp says, like, no, piss off. But in reality, he does go look after Ace and technically gives him to Dadan. So that does happen. We do see Garp take care of Ace later on. And then we get to the Straw Hats. They arrive in LOGUETOWN. We actually see a figure kind of looking at the Straw Hats as they arrive. It's like, who is that figure? I'll get to it in a second. They arrive at LOGUETOWN, the town of the beginning and the end, which is actually the title of this episode because it's all about LOGUETOWN. The Straw Hats end up splitting up. Luffy and Sanji go look for food. Nami and Usopp go shopping. Zoro goes looking for a couple of swords. And then we see Smoker arriving. When I saw Smoker arrive, I didn't remember that this actually happened. I thought this was just more live action stuff adding. We see Smoker capture a guy named Cozy of the Yes Pirates. And he also mentioned that his partner was not so lucky, which probably means he was killed. I didn't remember that, but these people actually did exist, so good for them. That was if you recognize who that was, you are very good at what you're like teching level of godness when it comes to One Piece, because I did not remember that at all. And then we cut back to Nami and Usopp there shopping, and I was wondering if we were going to see this character. We saw one of the two. We might have seen the second one. I looked for him twice. I didn't see him, so if I'm blind, someone please point him out. I was looking for Daddy Masterson and Carol, because if you remember, Daddy Masterson and Carol, not in the manga, but they are in a LOGUETOWN novel. Daddy Masterson was that sniper for the Marines that faced off against Yasopp, and then he had a duel with Usopp in LOGUETOWN for the goggles that he has. We end up seeing Carol, which is good enough for me. Yeah, maybe I'm blind. I should go watch that a third time. And then we see Bartolomeo. That is right. Bartolomeo's in LOGUETOWN. What? They showed him in the first scene. They didn't introduce who he was. I was like, is that Barto? I had no clue that in Dressrosa there was a flashback scene because Dressrosa was so long ago. I just don't remember. I'm sorry. Where Bartolomeo was in LOGUETOWN. He was actually there. We just never saw him. So there's a lot of confusion about that. There was a flashback. He was in LOGUETOWN the same time Luffy and the crew were there. We just didn't see him originally. So we see Bartolomeo, and it's not just like a flash in the pan. We see a lot of him in this episode. He actually ends up trying to like rob Nami, or maybe not rob Nami, but he runs into her literally, and Nami steals his wallet and then tells him, hey, you should look for easier marks. And then they have like a weird moment there. While this is happening, Zoro's looking for swords. He sees a sword shop and he goes in there. Before that, he actually meets Tashigi, where Tashigi, he of course gets reminded of Kuina, and he has like a whoa moment. And then she mentions about something about him getting lost. And he's like, I didn't get lost. What are you talking about? Me? So there's that moment where we have the Zoro gag there. But then he ends up entering the shop, and the shopkeeper eventually sees that he has the Wado Ichimonji, tries to lowball the shit out of him, and then Tashigi walks in again, is like, oh my god, is that one of the 21 famous blades? Is that the Wado Ichimonji? And then eventually Zoro sees the Sandai Katetsu, and we do get that scene where he throws it up. We knew they couldn't cut this one out. He throws it up and sees if it'll, like, hit his arm, and it doesn't. He wanted to see if the curse blade was stronger than his willpower. And then eventually in the same shop, the owner just gives him Yubashiri because the owner felt bad about trying to scam him for the Wado Ichimonji, and was also like, hey, it's been a while since I've seen a true swordsman walk in here. So that's kind of what's going on there. And then we also have a scene where Sanji finds the bluefin elephant tuna, which is another area where there might be a little bit of confusion, although it's really not that important at all. I, for one, forgot how he originally got it. I remember in the anime only there was like a cooking contest with Carmen. I didn't know if they were going to do that. I didn't think they would, but that would have been amazing. In reality, in the manga, it kind of happens as they show it here in the live action. He just buys it from a shopkeeper, which is a little bit disappointing. I would have been down for a cooking contest, but as you can imagine, we probably don't have any time for that. And then while this is all happening, Usopp is having like a call with Kaya, just telling her about what's going on. So that's kind of what the Straw Hats have been up to. There's a few other things happening. And then eventually, Luffy is walking around. It kind of like transfers to night here. And he sees Bartolomeo. And Bartolomeo says, oh, hey, Mark. As Nami was telling Barto earlier that he should have been looking for easier marks. So that is how that apparently happens. Luffy's like, hey, I'm looking for the execution platform. You seen it? He's like, oh, wow, that's exactly where I'm going. What are the odds? So they end up walking towards the execution platform. And who do they run into? They run into Bunny. Not really, actually Buggy. Luffy calls him Bunny, and then there's just a bunch of scenes where Buggy's just trying to troll him back, and it's actually very entertaining. They get captured, and then we have this whole scene where Buggy's kind of like Luffy's lawyer in court, which of course didn't happen, but it was very entertaining, and they had to fill it in something probably somewhere. We see Alvida. They have this whole sham trial, and then eventually the Straw Hats kind of all met up, all the other ones, and they said, hey, where's Luffy? So they end up going and looking for him, and then eventually they find him and they start fighting the Buggy Pirates while Smoker's just kind of watching from above with Tashigi, and Tashigi's looking at Zoro and going, wait a minute, that's that guy from the shop, that he's a pirate? Damn it. And then she learns kind of, oh, that's Roronoa Zoro. So eventually, as the fighting's all going on, Buggy takes Luffy to the execution platform, as we saw happen in the manga. And I had wondered, I made a video about like the season 2 trailer and then all the other trailers. We hadn't seen Dragon at all. We knew who his actor was going to be, who was going to be Rigo Sanchez. Actually, completely forgot to even look who that was when I was making that video. We don't see him save Luffy, but we see the lightning, of course. And Smoker's looking at Luffy and going, oh dear God, he was laughing when he was facing death, similarly to Roger. So eventually the lightning hits, all the Marines arrive and start kind of fighting the Buggy Pirates while the Straw Hats kind of run away. As they're running away, we see Tashigi kind of approach them, and that's when Zoro's like, okay, I got this. They have a fight, which you can imagine goes exactly how you would think it was going to go. They eventually, the fight ends with Zoro winning, and man, Zoro was cold, because she was like, hey, why can't you kill me? And he's like, look, you want the Wado Ichimonji? Which she said, I'm taking the Wado Ichimonji from you to deserve it. He's like, I'm not giving it to anyone, especially you. I was like, oh, that was just right to the heart. That had to hurt. That had to hurt. Zoro fights Tashigi. That ends swiftly and quickly. And then we get to the big bad. We get to Smoker. Luffy and Sanji confront Smoker. Sanji's like, hey, Luffy, I got this. He goes to kick him. Naturally, that does not go well. He's got a devil fruit. Luffy uses Gum Gum Gatling and attacks him just a ton. Just hits him so many times. Nothing happens. Which, of course, Luffy and Sanji are like, oh, no. So, eventually, Smoker starts hitting Luffy a few times, and then once he has him pinned down, we get the character we were looking for. Dragon goes and saves him. We see Dragon arrive, and he says him. He's got like this cloak in, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm not gonna let you do this right now," or something like that. Kind of just see like a scene where Smoker's just evolving into Smoke, and it's just like just gets like flown away. Him and Dragon real quick. They just kind of snap away. And Sanji's like, "Who was that?" And Luffy's like, "I have no idea." So then we get to the point where we have a bunch of stuff that's not going to happen again, that didn't actually happen. We see the Straw Hats leaving, which we do see, and they go, "Who was that?" I have no idea. And then we see Dragon just like looking out, and behind him comes a familiar face. One that we did not see in LOGUETOWN. We see Sabo. Yeah, wow. That was a pleasant surprise. And then they end up leaving. And then we have a scene where it's in the pirate bar that Gold Roger used to hang out. We see Robin and Tashigi. Yes, Robin and Tashigi are kind of just hanging out. Robin's like, "Hey, you're meant for a lot more than this, right? You should join Baroque work." And she gives her like the card that Mr. Seven tried to give to Zoro. That, of course, did not happen. I wonder, however, if at this point Robin has her bounty, if a more seasoned Marine, aka Smoker, would have recognized, "Hey, this is Nico Robin, I need to arrest her." Kind of interesting that Tashigi didn't actually, maybe, she of course didn't realize that at the time. And then we see Smoker come in as Robin just leaves right before that. And he's like, "You know what? This is who I am. I want to make sure there's never gonna be another Gold Roger." That kid on the scaffold, he laughed just like Roger did. So we see his motivations, and then he's like, "Look, okay, it's time to go. We are gonna go follow him to the Grand Line. I am the one that's supposed to guard Logtown before the Grand Line. If anyone gets past me, I'm gonna go chase him." And then we have a couple more scenes. We have a scene with Bartolomeo. We see like the origin of the fanboy. Barto's just like walking around. He sees a Luffy poster and then making a pose. And then next to that poster, he sees a mirror and he's like, "Oh, I could make the same pose." So we kind of gather that that's his moment going, "Dang it, I love that guy." And he becomes a fan of Bart. You know, while we see Barto, he already has like moments of being an idiot. When we see him with Nami, his interactions are kind of weird, like he's serious but not really serious. And then we get to the closing scene, because obviously we're going to Reverse Mountain next. The Straw Hats are kind of like, "Okay, here we go. We're going into the Grand Line." So for anyone that might need any kind of refresher about what is about to happen, so we started at Logtown. We're going up Reverse Mountain. We are going to see Laboon and Crocus in the next few episodes. And then we're going to go to Whiskey Peak, which is that bounty hunter Baroque Works town where they're going to try to drug the Straw Hats, but Zoro's going to survive and fight them. And then we are going to Little Garden, where we're going to meet Dorian Broggy. We are going to see them. We're going to see Mr. 3. We're going to see Miss Golden Week. And then after that, we are going to finish Season 2 off in Drum Island, where we should see Ace at the very end. I've talked about this in the other video. We know who it is. Zolo Mariduena, I think. We should see Ace, and of course, I'm very excited to do so. So, I think you can expect, if you're looking for one from me, a full season review, like tomorrow, the next day. But if you're looking for like more detailed episodes where I kind of point out some interesting things that are happening here or there, those will probably be either tomorrow, or I'll just do like one episode at a time for the rest of the week. They all came out, all the episodes came out already, so you can watch them whenever you want to. It's not like a one episode at a time thing. And yeah, I think that's it for episode 1. It was very exciting. It was really good. I thought it was coming out at midnight, like Central, and I realized, okay, I stayed up for no reason because it was actually Pacific. So that sucked. But if you have any ideas or anything I missed, anything interesting, or if you just have any comments, please let me know. If you could leave a like and a sub, it would help the channel a lot. We've been pumping out a ton of videos. So anyways, much appreciate you guys watching. I will see you guys tomorrow for sure with at least an episode 2 review or the full thing. I don't know. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Much appreciated.